Well, welcome back to my channel, everybody. Today we are looking at the Fondjoy Aquaman and Mera action figures based on their appearance in the Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom cinematic feature. We have Aquaman here and Mera here. The artwork? Mwah! Magnifique. Beautiful. I love the front of these packages. Here is a look-see doodle at the side of each of their packages. The bottom one is Aquaman and the top one is Mera. And here is a look at the back of each of their packaging. As we can see here, we get a little sneak peek of everything that's going to come in the package with Aquaman. And the same can be said for Mera. One thing that's very cool about the FonJoy packaging for these figures is that they actually use magnets to hold the boxes shut. You can hear it snapping shut there. And that is very cool. That means you have this completely resealable box and you're not having to actually open anything. You're not having to pull any flaps. This is so cool, so thoughtful. Anyway, less yakking, more unpacking. So with these guys, you have the figures in the front. So here we have Aquaman, and behind the figure we have the accessories. And the same can be said for Mera. We have the action figure in the front, and packed in behind her, we see her trident and her water effects. Alrighty, and now that we have an outside of the box situation going on, we can see that everything is out, looking fantastic. Lots of extra hands. Both characters with their tridents. Both characters with an action figure stand. Mera comes with her water effects, and Aquaman comes with... really, I don't remember what that is. And of course, now we have both of the individual figures. Each one looking super fantastic. As far as creating sculpts for these characters, FonJoy absolutely knows what they're doing, with every detail being complete and precise to their movie costumes. Whether it be the scale mail for Aquaman's armor and his ornate green gloves and boots and belt, or Mera's bright aqua blue green sea colored bodysuit with all of those strange octagonal designs all over it, or the gold accents around her wrist and in her mid area. The basic appearance of both of these figures is fantastic. Now I'm just gonna start with Aquaman in hand here. First, let's take a closer look at Aquaman's trident. This is fantastic. It's movie accurate and sculpted to look fantastic. We can see all the way down, I don't know if you would call this the hilt, the handle, the stem of the trident, but yeah, it looks pretty awesome. And as I previously mentioned, all of that scale mail, everything looks really great. I love the orange color that they've chose to paint this guy's upper torso here. And his Aquaman gauntlets, they look pretty fantastic too. This is movie accurate, nice and shiny. We have his, I'm not sure if you call it his belt or whatever. Like, this is definitely armor. Covers his bum bum. I wonder what the significance of that is. Maybe not to get stabbed in the ass by another trident. Anyway, they did a good job with that. And then, of course, we have the legs and the leg armor, that also being film screen accurate. And his Aquaman boots. Again, film screen accurate. They've done such a great job capturing all of these details. And then there's the face sculpt, and I'm not entirely sure this looks a lot like Jason Momoa. I can definitely see the Momoa-ness to it, but the face seems like it might be a little bit puffy, like maybe a chubbier version of Jason Momoa, kind of like Fat Thor. I do like the fact that they manufactured his face out of the color plastic that they used rather than painting his face, which is fantastic. The hair is a separate part, and we will see in just a few moments here exactly how much this does or does not get in the way of the articulation. As far as comparisons, first I wanted to compare him to other versions of the movie Aquaman figures. So we have Aquaman from the Justice League, made by Mezco 112. We have the Mafex Aquaman movie version of Aquaman. And we have the McFarlane Toys version of Aquaman, all the way over there on the other side. And then, of course, I had to compare him to some other Justice League characters in general. Most of these are going to be McFarlane Toys. Actually, all are, except for the Batman. I've chosen to bring in the other FonJoy Batman so that we would have what I think is a really good-looking team. Now, as for his articulation, which I said we would do in a few moments, and clearly those moments have passed because we're checking his head. What exactly does he get for his head articulation? Well, his head is going to be on a ball joint, up in here. I'm not pulling his head off to show you, but it is, and it does also appear that there is some very basic neck articulation, that the neck is a separate piece inside of the suit here. The hair really gets in the way. Like if I want to turn his head left or right, like he can't look straight left or right. He kind of has to have his head down, you know what I mean? He's got to look kind of, give a tilted head for him to turn, and nothing back. Like there's absolutely nothing back. So that hair definitely gets in the way. It could have used to have been a softer rubber. As for the torso is likely on a ball joint. I'm not going to take him apart to find it. And it's fairly stiff. Like if I push it without wrecking the plastic, I can get it to here and then get it to here. Everything else, you're really looking at wrecking the figure back that far and forward that far. So not a whole lot of articulation in the torso, but man, certainly does look cool. The waist for this figure as well, and now I'm going to move both. I'm going to use the torso and the waist just so you can see. That's the total of what it gets. And then back, that's the total of what you're going to get using both. The waist will swivel, and it swivels enough that any kind of pose you would want to get him into, I think that you can, at least waist-wise. The shoulders have those sockets like McFarlane figures, and also like we've seen with the Fondjoy. The sockets don't actually disappear into the body, so they don't really help with the articulation that much. They don't really have much of a huge role to play. We do see the rounded hinge right here. We do know that he's going to get a 360 bicep swivel right there. He does have double jointed elbows that amount to that, and that is the sum total of what you're going to get from them. He's also got the rounded hinges in the wrists, and they're pretty articulated with the spinny peg right here as well. Down here below the belt, he's got drop hinges, which you know I'm a fan of drop hinges, and those drop quite nicely. Before we use the drop hinges, outward, you know that these are going to get in the way. These side panels attached to his belt are going to get in the way. But forward, it automatically enacts the drop hinges. So I can't really show you without using the drop hinges because, look, automatically it uses them. But he does get full forward, and for his backward motion, he gets about that. And he does get, with the leg inside, a little bit of what you would consider to be like a thigh cut. And then with it not inside, he certainly gets a lot more. What he gets for the knee is that double jointed knee action. And for his ankle here, it's, I'm assuming, if I could see it, a ball joint. Yeah, I don't know if you can see in there, there does appear to be a rounded ball joint. Not a ton of articulation, but enough for someone like me. And then, of course, he's got the ever-present, ever-famous toe articulation. And since that about sums it up for Aquaman, why don't we now turn our attention to the lovely Miss Mera? Does Mera have a last name? I don't remember. Do Atlanteans have last names? Anywho, in hand, this be her trident, or you know what I always call it when it's got 5 points. Say it with me now. Quindent. It just looks like Aquaman's old trident, and that's because, well, it is. It's the one that he used in the previous movie. And something I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video when I was talking about accessories is that Mera also comes with this here golden tiara as well. It just kind of roughly sits on her head, like, whoopsies. It sits right here on her head, like that. That's pretty crappy. Let's try one more time. It just kind of sits on her head, like that. I think I finally have it positioned properly so that it won't fall off if her head moves. If she starts headbanging though, comes right off. Oh, fell on the floor. And since we're in the general head sculpt area anyway, we might as well take a little look-see-doodle and see how much it resembles that of Scamber Turd. How much does it actually look like her face? I suppose if Amber was a little weensy bit pudgier, it would look like her. The eyes look a little bit like her. The hair, and there is lots of it, comes in two pieces. She has the hair up top here, and then there's hair down the bottom right here. Her colors, if you'll notice, are not all the same too. Like down here, her legs, I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up, they're actually slightly more green than her upper thighs. And then you've got quite a bit of green worked into here. I'm looking at the camera screen, and I'm not entirely sure if the camera is picking it up, but some areas are more green and some areas are more blue. They did a great job with the flesh tone area of her chest. It's actually a separate piece. It's not painted, which actually makes it look more realistic. And they did, from what I can tell, a pretty good job on the painted detail on her wrist area, and also that Atlantean symbol right there in her midriff area. And again, looking up close, can you tell the difference? Can you see the green where it's more green? Like her boots are definitely more green than her upper legs, and so on and so forth. Very cool though. I really like the colors that they've chose for this Mera figure. One thing I will say, it's a little weird. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but her body is not symmetrical. Her torso, like her abdomen here, it actually goes in further here than it does here. As for her articulation, well, let's zoom in a little bit again and get an idea of what we're going to get with her head sculpt. You can see there's articulation point down here above the collarbones at the base of her neck, and she has one at the top, and she definitely has better downward motion than our Aquaman had, and a little bit better back with the hair kind of moving out of the way a little bit, but the hair doesn't really do a whole lot. She can turn her head, and she has the same kind of issue that Aquaman has, where she can turn her head, but she also looks down a bit. She can't turn her head straight across. For me, that's not a huge deal. For some of you, that might be a bit of a no-no for you. Her arms, you've got the rounded hinges there, and you got the sockets on the inside. They do a little bit more. They do more than Aquaman's did. You know, there's a bit of movement there, enabling that peg to be just a little bit longer. She does not have a bicep swivel. She does, however, have the double-jointed elbows, and they crunch up quite nicely. Her wrists have the rounded hinge with the peg, and I will say that the wrists tend to be a little bit loose on Mera. Even more so, the joint that is responsible for holding the trident is really, like, I barely have to touch it. Oh, see that? Her torso is within reason. I wish there was more of a downwards articulation with this one, but I suppose that's within reason, I guess. And then we have the waist. So when we put the torso and the waist together, I wish she was a little bit more, just a little bit more. Down here, Mera's legs are attached with ball joints, and they are drop hinges, and they drop right down. That's freakish looking. Of course, there's the thigh cut style rotation there, and of course it's going to rotate more because it's on that ball joint. It'll rotate more when it's dropped because the leg socket does get in the way, but they will go all the way out. With the help of the thigh cut, they will go all the way forward and then back. You got to use the thigh cut for them to go back a bit more, but she still doesn't get that much more. Not that you'd ever want to pose her with those gigantic thigh gaps like that. That would just be weird looking. Here is what she has for the knees. They got that double jointed knee action going on, and her ankles are on that rounded hinge. Now they are also just a little bit more loose than I want them to be. I wish they were just a little bit tighter. They can go up to that, down to that, and because they're on a rounded ball joint, they're going to pivot. So that be the sum total of Mera's articulation. So what do I think of both of these action figures? Well, I really appreciate the fact that we have a Mera figure in the 7-inch scale to pose along our other 7-inch scale movie Snyderverse / DC EU film universe characters. And I really like the look of this Aquaman. It really is a great 7-inch scale representation of this character. If, you know, the face is not quite on par. I still think this is a pretty darn good action figure, a pretty darn good movie Aquaman figure, if you ask me. They look great, they pose middle of the road-ish, and for me, they're fantastic additives to my 7-inch scale Movieverse action figure collection. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know where the like button is. If you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you all with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.